Wow, the Pistons lose an absolute heartbreaker in Boston. We'll break it all down in just a moment. Welcome back to the Piston Jack YouTube channel. Today's video, we are reacting to the Pistons' loss to the Boston Celtics 114 to 117. The winning streak is over. The Pistons will not make new franchise history. They will not win their 14th game. But they still tie the franchise record with 13 wins, and I just want to start on that. How proud I am of this team, how good this team is, and please, I'm begging you Pistons fans. Well, actually I'm not, because if you want to be negative about this, then that's fine. I'm not going to tell anyone how to feel, but just my opinion is this was a great game. There's things that went wrong for the Pistons, and I'm going to talk about them. There was things they could have done to win this game, but to be 15-3 at this point of the year is just incredible. And please, even after the buzzer, when you're feeling down and you're focusing on all the negatives that lost the Pistons this game, just remember that the core of this team is still in between the ages of 20 to 24. This team is so young. They are so young and have so much to learn. And I say that in a good way. They haven't been a team with a target on their back like they were tonight in Boston. I saw one of Boston's most well-known beat reporters tweeting out that was the best win of the Celtics season. That's who this Pistons team is now. That's how they are approached by teams like the Celtics with rich history and a huge fan base. The Pistons are that team in the Eastern Conference. And we should, as a fan base, be so proud of them. Even in a loss like tonight, they never gave up. The Celtics were pushing them to the brink. The Celtics got out by 6. They got out by 7. They couldn't miss from 3, it felt like. And this team just never gives up. And yes, there is things they need to clean up, the rotation. And I promise I'm going to share my thoughts on that. But I just wanted to start by saying this team is still very, very good. They are really good. The Celtics threw everything at them tonight. And it took some pretty incredible shot making for them to get out of there with a 3-point win, which this game easily could have been in overtime, and who knows what would have happened. But Detroit, like I said, lose 114 to 117, and they started this game reasonably well. They got out to a 10-point lead quickly. I think it was 26 to 16 at some point towards the end of the first quarter. And it felt like, okay, the Pistons, this is going to be similar to the Bucks game, the Pacers game. They're out to a good start. Hopefully they can keep this lead for most of the game. And the Celtics, of course, are going to fire their punch. But like we spoke about in the preview, the Celtics, as soon as the Pistons got up by 10, they hit back-to-back threes. And that's the power of the three-point shot. The Celtics are the third best three-point shooting team in the league for a reason. Not only do they make the third most, but they shoot in the top 10 as well per efficiency. It's such a weapon. And all they do, quite frankly, is shoot threes. Jaylen Brown will take mid-ranges, but outside of that, all they're looking for is threes, especially without Tatum in their lineup. That's what they live on. And you saw tonight why they're 6th in three-point makes. I think they finished with making 23s of 43, 47% from deep. The Pistons shoot 11 of 36, and the Pistons aren't known to be, they don't shoot a lot of threes, but at the end of the day, I think that's kind of what it came down to for me. Derek White in that second half, just every time the Pistons would get it back to within 3 or tie it up, it felt like 3 separate occasions. The Pistons were down 1 point, they'd get a bucket, and then all they needed was one more stop and they could take the lead, and Derek White would hit an open 3. Just every time in that second half. I don't know if you felt like that, but he finished with 27 points, 6 of 11 from 3. I feel like he only missed 1 in the second half, it felt like. So I feel like he made at least 5 or 6 in that second half, and he kind of just killed the Pistons. I thought at times, he was hunting a pull-up 3 out of the pick and roll. He was either hunting a switch with Tobias, or him and Jaylen Brown kept running pick and roll at the top to try and get Duncan Robinson over and onto Jaylen Brown. But if they didn't get the switch, then Derek White was just pulling up. And I feel like the Pistons, after the first couple, did a good job closing out. He did get one open late where Cade went over to help. I think it was Jaylen Brown and Duncan, and kind of, not inexplicably, because I understand his thought process, but left Derek White open from the free throw line extended, like that 3-point line right in front of JB Bickerstaff. He drained a big three. And yeah, he was just immense. I feel like they did a good job on Jaylen Brown in the second half. Brown finished with 33, but he took 32 shots. He got to the free throw line heaps in the first half, but I feel like they neutralized him pretty well. The Celtics were just consistently hunting Duncan Robinson. And look, I thought Duncan was fine. I think he did his best defensively, but the Celtics are a team. They're just going to shoot threes, and they just hunted Duncan Robinson. Hunting mismatches. If they get the mismatch they want, Jaylen Brown was putting on the deck and trying to get to the mid-range. And if he didn't get that, they were spraying it out for threes. They play a very simple game, the Celtics. And whilst it's not my favorite brand of basketball to watch, it's high efficiency. And when they make threes, if you make 20 threes in an NBA game, you're more likely going to win than not, even if there's a talent deficit, which there kind of was tonight with how good this Pistons team's been. And that kind of takes me to Cade Cunningham. 42 points on the night. I think that's his second highest of the season behind his 45 against the Wizards. I would say that equals a second career high of 42. Maybe he's had 43 once, but 12 of 26 from the floor, 4 of 9 from deep, 14 of 16 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Celtics did a reasonable job on him, but Cade just used his strength to bully. He probably missed a few shots around the basket he would like back, but he missed. So in the dying seconds, I think there was like 6 seconds left. Cade gets fouled, heaving it from half court. Originally, the refs say it's a 2-point shot. The Celtics were trying to foul to stop the Pistons from getting a 3 off to tie it. Then Tony Brothers overrules it and says that no, it was a shot. That's 3. They review it. It's definitely 3 shots. Cade makes the first 2, and then the third one rolls off, and Jalen Duren has a chance to tip it back, but just couldn't get it to go, and then the rest is history. I think Pritchard gets the ball, 2 free throws, and the Pistons have no timeouts. And then Jalen Duren threw a turnover to not even allow the Pistons to get a shot, but it felt like once they missed that chance to put it back off the missed free throw, the game was wrapped. But Cade, a pretty prolific game. It felt like to me, as the outside of the first quarter and a half, when the Pistons were playing freely and had the lead, it felt like Cade was the only real viable offensive option tonight. And like the Celtics are not a good defensive team. They're okay. But it felt like Cade was the only one who had played with confidence on offense, and it led to a lot of him trying to do everything. And I felt like, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing to him, I think it was a product of his teammates kind of just a tiny bit shying away from the moment of a close, high-pressure game on the road. They were just fumbly, not assertive for the most part in the second half. A lot of the buckets outside of Cade came off putbacks or fumbling it around on the ground and getting it back up. Like, they weren't clean with it. They weren't clean with it. And Cade, it felt like the only one was going to be able to drive any offense. And yeah, I said that in the third quarter. I felt like someone's going to have to step up here for the Pistons to win, because we can't just be relying on Cade to ISO and generate everything, because he's going to wear down. And look, they almost won like this, but it just felt like tonight there wasn't that second guy. Tobias hit a huge 3 towards the end of the game to, I think, bring it within 1 point or maybe tie it up. But ultimately, they just didn't get enough shot making from the rest of the team. I thought Asar was pretty brilliant defensively. Pritchard made a few threes and got off the chain a little bit, but I feel like Asar was only defending him on one of those 4 he made. I thought Asar probably could have played more than 25 minutes. I wasn't really happy with him only playing 10 minutes in the first half. That's when Pritchard was really getting going, when Asar was off the court. So 25 minutes for Asar, probably not enough when you're playing a top 3 NBA offense. Like, you want your best perimeter defender out there more. And then, look, Jalen Duren, I'll be honest, he's had an exceptional season, but my biggest gripe from this game was JB not putting Isaiah Stewart back in there earlier. I feel like the Celtics were barely playing without a center, and we still had Jalen out there. And initially I was a bit mad at Jalen missing rotations. There was multiple where he just you can tell he just didn't know what to do because he's not used to guarding in space. But the final one where Jaylen Brown gets an and one, and I think that was maybe after Tobias 3. That was just, to me, on JB. You can't leave Duran out there when they're going to hunt the switch. You have one of the best switch defenders in the NBA, and Stu had just been slowly getting some spark to this team in the fourth. He had a huge block and then followed it up with a dunk, and I just didn't get not having him out there in that last 4 minutes. They put him out there with like a minute or two to go, but I felt like it was too late. And I just didn't think JD had it defensively tonight down the stretch. And offensively, he was very fumbly. It just wasn't his night. I'm not like trying to pile the loss on him. He just didn't have it. The Celtics, I thought Jaylen would dominate tonight. The Celtics did a great job of making him uncomfortable around the basket, even though they didn't have much size in there. They had really quick hands to swat the ball. Pritchard was in there, Derek White. They did a really good job of, whenever he brought the ball down, slapping it out of his hands. But I thought it was a mistake to keep him out there. It was pretty clear to me quickly when he subbed in for Stu that he just didn't have it defensively, and I would have liked to see Stu just go the whole way. Even if maybe if you need to get him 2 minutes, but get him back in there for those last 4 minutes, because he was a better option defensively tonight, and Jaylen just didn't have it offensively. He did make a pair of nice free throws, I'll give him that, but not really Jaylen's night, but it's bound to happen when you're only 22. The other thing I had a bit of a gripe with, and maybe I'll finish it here because I don't want to be too negative. It's one loss, but the Dennis Jenkins thing slightly just not making a lot of sense to me. I feel like tonight especially because J.I. kind of didn't have it going. He made some nice plays, Ivy, but it's his third game back. Like, he didn't really provide that punch he has against the Bucks and Pacers, and couldn't drain his threes. I thought Dennis, you could have thrown him in that second half. Felt like once again in that third quarter, Cade was doing everything, and there's just not enough support around him. And I thought Dennis only playing 8 first half minutes just isn't cutting it for me, because I feel like he's shown he's a fearless player. And especially in the clutch. We've seen him against, I know it's the Wizards, but he made 2 of the clutchest threes you will see in the NBA in the regular season. And I just think neglecting him from the rotation, I know it's tough because they're trying to find minutes for all these guys, but and like everyone deserves minutes with how good they've been. But Dennis, to me, was a guy who could have helped take the pressure off Cade. He could have penetrated in there. The Celtics didn't really have a big who's like, they had that two-way guy, I forgot his name, but just feel like Dennis could have really given them a scoring punch when they really needed it. Now, maybe JB saw in the first half, Dennis only played 8 minutes, didn't take a shot, wasn't being as aggressive as he normally is, and thought maybe he doesn't have it. But I just think Dennis deserves a bit more than 7 minutes, because he showed us in that 4 or 5 game stretch. Like, I like it's the Atlanta Hawks as well. It wasn't just against the Bulls and the Wizards. Like, he's a real guy who can make shots down the stretch and is fearless. So I think that's the one thing, as well as the Isaiah Stewart decision to not bring him back in earlier, that kind of bothered me the most. The rest, I think it's a game of runs. The other team was just shooting the cover off the ball. Karis LeVert probably had some moments he wish he could have back, but I still think he made some key threes tonight. So I'm not going to really get on much else. I think overall this team is trending in a very good direction, and we should all be very excited. Vibes are still very high. Do not jump off the bandwagon now. We've stuck through some very, very dark times. We can get through a close loss against the Celtics, in what was honestly a fun game. Like, after 5 minutes settled down after the buzzer, and I just kind of let the shock of losing and the heartbreak subside, like, I was just like, you know what? That was a fun game. I enjoyed that. This team's really good. The Celtics, I said it, their record's a bit deceiving at 9-8 entering tonight. Like, when you look at their advanced numbers, they don't look like a 9-8 team. And I think you saw why they have one of the best offenses in the league, and we just didn't win tonight. And that's okay. We'll be back, and we've got the Magic in a cup game, which will be really fun. The Magic are 3-0 in cup games, so I think the Pistons, to even advance now, would have to beat the Magic by like 40 points, just vaguely looking at it. So Our NBA Cup dreams might be almost close to dead, but let's ruin the Magics. Let's ruin them. They've been playing really well, be another great test. But we'll be back tomorrow with another video. But thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But until next time, as always, go Pistons.